and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with the amazing Cameron, who's flown in to be with us all the way from New York with his fantastic film, Harlem Fragments. Let's take a look at the clip.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines functional. Prepare for stage 1 separation.
Cameron, it's a delight. Welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family.
Man, great to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
And thank you for bringing your amazing film. I've got so many questions for you, but for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, it's a wild run. It's basically, the logline is, it's about the beautiful destruction of a 2008 Harlem black family that's going through the recession, and kind of how they pick themselves up from that, and the new chapters that go from the happenings that go on.
Watching the film, having lived in New York, I said to you yesterday, I was like, I could practically smell the fresh air. You gave us that much of an intimacy with this film.
Yeah.
You're so insanely talented. There's so many parts of the film that is just so magical and put a great nuance on your filmmaking ability. But where did this inspiration come from, and an idea, and then that kind of time where you think, I must turn this into a film?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to absorb it. It's a very personal story that I have kind of had in my head for a while. I wrote a college essay that was actually about my family and kind of the ramifications of going through something like separation, divorce, any kind of family turmoil. And so over the last 10 years, I've had this, kind of narrative in my head and different bits of pieces of writing. And after, spending 6 years in the creative agency world in advertising in New York, I had been slowly starting to build momentum, making more and more films, producing, assistant directing, executive producing. And then finally, after basically stacking up like 5 films, I had culminated this collective that I was pretty much ready to. I was very determined to make my own film because I was like, look, I can make all these films, so why not go for one myself? And after all of that, I pitched Fujifilm on this project with my cinematographer Nona Katusenu, and they really loved the story that I had culminated and put together in my bat cave off the clock, whenever I was leaving the office. And then, we gave them the concept and made it in 3 months. And so,
wow.
And so from start to finish, it really took momentum once I developed a script from, a treatment, from that whole process of really getting clear on all these different materials and flesh that I had culminated over, having it in my brain. But in short, it's an autobiographical story that is based on this family that's going through this Harlem divorce.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, flip that on its head, right? If it's going to be my first film, I didn't just want to make a film, I wanted to make it really innovative. And so that's why I add a dimension of animation. That's why I play with the manipulation of time and space as a storytelling device. So weaving all of that in, is very ambitious in itself, but I really wanted it to define how that's the style of filmmaking that I always want to make, is kind of this vulnerable but with intention filmmaking.
Well, you achieved that. I mean, you have multi-layer, immense talent, and it's not easy to incorporate this, again, thank you for sharing a personal story as well. I mean, I don't know how you felt in the room last night, but it was a magical experience. But, again, I love the fact that you just, based it around just, what one even, universally go through may have been experienced, and from the perspective of a young person and how they feel going through it as well, and through their lens and their eyes and their imagination. You had a tremendous cast, they carried the story so well for you. Let's talk a little about how you brought your cast together, because, and you made a superhero, so geez,
Yeah, no, first of all, shout out to that entire Rockstar cast ensemble. For me, it was because again, with the realms that the environments that you're dealt with for when you're making a short film, right? You really have to lean into this power and strength of your cast. And so if you have 5 principals, really, they got to all really bring it. So from top to bottom, the crazy in me is, again, this ambitious filmmaking. I actually used my mom in the film, and so she plays the grandmother.
Really? That was your mom?
Yeah,
Oh,
a little
so
Easter egg.
amazing.
Yeah, because she grew up modeling, and so I knew that she was familiar in front of the camera, and I was trying to think of someone who could really emulate my grandmother and have that kind of grace. And I was like, well, actually, my mom,
Your mom's talented.
Yeah, oh,
Thanks,
man.
Mom. That was amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. And then, I had very much knew from the jump, prior to any even casting, that I was going to work with one of my closest collaborators, Roderick Lawrence, who plays my dad in the film. Extremely talented, has done everything from Simba on Lion King to playing Ike recently in the Tina musical currently.
Wow.
And we've made 3 different projects together. I just finished that 18-day feature with him on that $1 million indie budget Silent Partner, where he plays the lead, Silas Jones. And so him and I have a very close relationship, and I knew that I could trust him with that material to really bring that depth of this, boomer black man who struggles to communicate, who is thinking his only love language that he's ever known and been taught is to provide. And so having that mixed cocktail, and then being able to still show those charismatic moments and those, best father ever kind of, walk that line. So he's been incredibly talented in that. And then I also, Clarissa Thibault, who is an incredibly talented actress, I actually had auditioned her for our previous short that we went with, and I knew just from that history that I think she'd be a perfect fit. And so I reached out to Roderick because their dynamic was crucial for the entire story to carry the vehicle. So whoever I'm putting Rod next to, they have to keep up, if not bring more than him. And so I asked Rod, and I was like, hey, I'm really thinking about Clarissa for this role, and he told me, it's really interesting that you say that, because we were slated to do a play together during the pandemic, or right before the pandemic, and they were casted as a couple who had a lot of ups and downs and had an incredible chemistry. And based off of that trust, because we trust each other, I was like, well, then it's her. We don't have to, even have her read or anything. And then with the kids, the foundation of the film, the bedrock. Kyle Keyes and Stella Coviello, incredibly talented, both of them, just absolute powerhouses. And Kyle Keyes is this, he's this really. I remember my first Zoom, call with him, and he had a tape that he submitted, and his aura just really pulsated through this little Zoom screen, and and he was just looking around and being so. Innocent and curious, and I thought that was it right there in terms of that look and that feel and what he was emitting through just a little Zoom screen. And this was kind of his really first big role. And there was a lot of back and forth with my producers of he might be a little green for something as ambitious as this project. And for me, I'm fully, again, in the name of calculated risks, I'm fully into giving people these opportunities to really, because otherwise you're not going to find another story. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have pitched my project, and that it was actually taken because of the story and the intentionality and the uniqueness from it. And so I wanted to give him that opportunity to be a lead character, and on top of that, not only is he a protagonist, but I was able to design an entire, superhero astronaut around him.
I mean, okay, I've got to say, right?
Yeah.
Like, you dream as a kid of being a superhero.
Yeah.
How did he feel in his first major role to be turned to a superhero? Like,
Yeah.
how was that? What was that experience like? That's unique.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we had a private screening for him because I had not shown him or the cast the film, and he had no idea what the film was going to turn into, right? Because the whole time he's just in front of the camera watching what's going down for the first time with his big first opportunity. And what I wanted to do for him was, because growing up myself, my dad, my love for filmmaking, my dad always showed me a lot of films back in the day, but I was growing up watching the James Bonds, the Indiana Jones, and I was making up in my head all of these different spy, action, adventure movies, but centered around like a black protagonist and a black spy or superhero.
Yeah.
And so, and I grew up watching Static Shock and all types of, my favorite comic was Black Panther because my grandfather was an antique seller, and he would give me these vintage from the 60s Black Panther comics when I was like 6 and on.
That's amazing.
It was incredible. And so I wanted to do that for Kyle. And so, I wanted to reveal, like, you are your own, Buzz Lightyear. Look at that.
Yeah.
You have a black Buzz Lightyear in front of you.
Oh,
and he was just, his dad didn't tell him. He picked him up from school and he just said, "We're going somewhere, son." And he was just blown away. I mean, it was really special for that. And that's exactly the reason why I do this kind of filmmaking. So it was incredibly special. Yeah.
That's just so beautiful in itself. I mean, how amazing. I mean, directing this, when you're directing something that's personal, it's also in a neighborhood that you grew up in. You have actually something very special in the sense of where you actually film this, right?
Yeah. It's another crazy story to this crazy film is, I was really trying when we were thinking about locations, right? It's a one location, but over courses of many different times and history. And in short, this film is meant to feel like a scrapbook, this family memory album that you're going through in these memory fragments. I really was trying to think about how can I find a space that can really emulate these brownstone structures, these iconic Harlem brownstones that, in the essence of New York filmmaking. For me, as a Harlemite born and raised, I really want to put Harlem on the map the same way Spike did for Brooklyn. And so I wanted to make that a priority of showing these iconic, structures, and they're a force of themselves. They're their own character. And so I had a lot of inspiration and appreciation from, Last Black Man in San Francisco. And I wanted to do that and center the beauty within Harlem. And so I kept thinking about locations, and I currently live a block away from where I grew up. And I figured, as I'm looking at all these other brownstones, let me just walk over there and knock on the door and see who's over there, see who lives there, and see what's up. And I got in touch with the owners, and I approached them and I said, "Hey, I'm working on a film. I used to live here. I'm verified. I've done a bunch of projects. If I would love to work with you guys to shoot here if that's possible." And they said, "Whatever you need, let's do it. I'm happy to help you." And I was blown away. And so in that process in itself, I shot in the home that my parents lost in their divorce for the film.
I mean, that is unbelievable.
It's crazy.
I mean, how special that was. And, thank you, neighbors, to do that. Like, seriously.
Eric and Julie, thank you guys.
That's amazing, remarkable. And it brings me to the sense of just, again, this story, I mean, it can resonate with some people on so many different levels. There's so much context that you put into your film, and you did Spike very proud, don't you worry, as a fellow New Yorker, for raising that profile on Harlem as well, which is a special, one of the gifts of New York City.
Yeah.
Making this film, looking back, seeing it, you've been to obviously a few festivals. This guy's worked really hard. He literally got off a plane yesterday, went to two screens yesterday, got another one today. Like, he's non-stop, this one, Cameron, I tell you. But like, what is it like seeing this film on the big screen, and what's the reaction been for you?
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, thank you, and it's been really special. I think it's been a long time coming of me wanting to ensure that these feelings and the potency of this type of storytelling is felt in the room and translates right outside of my brain, outside of whatever insular group I might be showing it to originally. But this is my whole case and my proof of concept of showing that this kind of filmmaking is divisive and strong and potent in the sense that it can really you can get there. I think in the same vein of Everything Everywhere All at Once, right? It's you have a cocktail of such imaginative different methods of storytelling, but they produce and emulate so many different emotions and senses of nostalgia and unknown in terms of where you're going. And again, that manipulation of time and space as a storytelling device is so important to me. So seeing it, this new Filmmakers LA was really special for me because after all of this work and meticulous, intentionality in my launch plan, and again, coming from that advertising background, I've been very strategic on even the construction of the film itself and its editing as a showcase, but and its launch. This was my global premiere, so being able to have it here.
We're thankful for that.
Man, I'm thankful too, and being able to have so many eyeballs in the room absorb it and really feel it for what it is, and come up to me afterwards. I think for me is special because we've been loading up and stretching back this this catapult. But I think currently we're slated to be in 18 festivals so far. So it's pretty nuts. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate obviously being a global premiere, and it's so nice that you can come to the other side of the country and have your film celebrated over here, and have other venues and festivals that you're working. That's just amazing. But there was a beautiful vibe last night.
Yeah.
I could feel the room. Everyone was just behind you, excited for you. There was applauding. How was that experience last night? Because you had the most supportive crowd. It was beautiful, wasn't it?
It was great. I was really, I was taken back by the applause. And the audience. I was.
It wasn't even applause. It was like screaming, shouting. Honestly, it was amazing.
Yeah, I could really hear some folks, the classic, that was something else. So that was really for me special. Again, I've never, I haven't been able to show it outside of these private screening, and to see a theater format for that was huge for me. And it's for me, it's always a lovely homecoming too, because I went to school out here for college, and to be back as kind of having a nice little West Coast premiere hurrah is huge. So it was very much felt in the room, and my cousin and my aunt came out.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, it was really special. So it was great to see a positive reaction. So it means it's working.
What's next?
What's next is a few things. I'm just getting off assistant directing and producing this independent feature, 1 million budget, Silent Partner, which just shot in New York, and it's about a black lawyer who takes on a stand your ground case as he's trying to wrestle to make partner at this very white law firm, and kind of the dynamics and hurdles and microaggressions and macroaggressions that go with that.
Set in New York.
Set in New York, yeah. And the biggest thing that's next is Harlem Fragments feature. So
we are ready for this. We're so ready for this.
I'm ready too. We've got a beautiful script that has been baked and cooked and chiseled a lot of different ways. I was fortunate enough to work with Sundance Feature Labs Round 2 to get it into shape. I baked out a script in 2 weeks while I was on a festival circuit for another film, and it's a really beautiful ride, because we get into all of these dimensions that we see glimpses of in this short, but we get to really feel them fully. We have basically our entire principal cast becomes true main characters in itself, so we get to build them out. We get more time and space, which is always fun.
I'm ready for that too.
Yeah. And we just get deeper in terms of the layers and understandings. I think it's always interesting, because when parents come up to me and see this film, they're always curious of what happened and with them. I just really feel and connect with these stories, and I want to know the deeper issues, and because it's almost like they're getting a window to themselves and a mirror to themselves. So Harlem Fragments feature is absolutely the next on the docket. I'm really much trying to create it this year, now that we're in 2024. So I want to, and so I think the momentum of this short in itself, again, as a proof of concept, but also functioning as a very quick and easy educational PSA, is a proof point of the success that the feature can have. And then on top of Harlem Fragments, I, again, as a Harlemite born and raised, this expanded universe of Harlem, I'm working on also my second feature, which is Harlem Bebop. So it's kind of a larger, it exists in the same universe, but in a larger hemisphere of these characters, grown up, but still informed by the experiences that they went through, and how those experiences now have steered, how they navigate in life later on. So
this is amazing.
Yeah,
this is amazing. Honestly, it's the world and the imagination, of yourself, Cameron, that I'm really looking forward to. I feel like already you have your own stance on how you visualize films for us, and I'm just very excited to see the next journey. And just please bring more films to us, because we're so excited. And firstly, I was going to lastly, I just want to you know, finalize, like in your creative field, like you've experienced a lot, you've been on many different journeys up till now, but for filmmakers out there that want to follow in your footstep, making storytelling something that's close to their heart in their own situations or places where they are, what kind of advice could you share for our audience?
Absolutely. No, I love that question. And second of all, just to respond to you, you know, honored to be here. So thank you guys for having me, and you know, looking at my project and investing in that sense, because I think, again, what I'll say first to people is that what you really need is a platform, and you guys are doing that by you know, having the spotlight currently, as we are here, you know, right before the Super Bowl. So you know, but to answer your question, I think a lot of things. I'm from the school of Kurosawa, where any time on set in a positive and inducing environment is great time and great experience. I'm not just saying, you know, go PA, you know, yada yada, but I think the more time you can spend, whether it's shadowing, whether it's producing, whether it's assistant directing, even all these different departments, I think inform your filmmaking and how you can decide how you want to or how you wouldn't want to make your story, how you want to run your set. All of these things are so informative of that, and the more information that you download with those things, I think the only further equipped you get. Again, I'm coming off of, you know, assistant directing my first narrative feature, and you know, the toolkit that has expanded in my arsenal just from those 18 days blinking has been you know, substantial, because assistant directing and producing it has, you know, shown me all different schematics and you know, the exoskeleton and underbelly of the film in itself, of how you get it, how you get past development and talking about it, right, into translating how do you make a $1 million indie feature budget. And the last thing I'll say is constantly and relentlessly submit to things. You know, if you have an idea in your head, you know, work through it and get it on piece of paper, and put it into an application. An application will often force you to get your stuff together, to get your synopsis, your log line, you know, your characters, your budget, your timeline. All of those things can help just give you a little jolt to get out there, because, you know, a lot of people are in the school of, oh, well, it's not done yet, it's not perfect yet. And as I always say, it's better to get it finished than to worry about chiseling until you're, you know, 70 and old, and so I think that when you launch things out there, someone is going to look, because your story hasn't been told yet, and it's needed. Very much like Kyle Keys, Kyle Keys is myself, you know, who was looking for someone like me on screen that I never saw growing up. So that's why I'm making it now.
Well, thanks for that TED Talk. That really was one. That was beautiful. No, seriously, but you know, thank you for coming to the West Coast. Never lose your East Coast essence, though. Like,
never.
Always keep it, right?
Never.
But no, I mean, honestly, your imagination and where you're taking your filmmaking is tremendous and extraordinary. And so we're really excited for your next projects. But thank you for gifting us with Harlem Fragments. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time. This was a great grand finale.
Thank you. Camera, everybody.
Thank you, guys.